welcome back, fellow disc golf enthusiasts, to coverage of the 2023 European Open. The weather has subsided, the rain is gone, the sun is out, and we are happy to be bringing you round 2 back 9 MPO chase card coverage, brought to you by MDG Media here at Nokia Disc Golf Park on the Beast. I'm Connor Wood, and with me, Elias Luukkonen.
What is up, Connor? What is up, viewers? Nice to be here once again. Looking at the scores from the front 9, we saw a lot of solid play from our card, especially from Bradley Williams, who has actually pushed himself into the leading position, tied for the lead with multiple other players. Also from our group, both Onni Ruusunen and Eagle McMahon in the top 10. Looking to make a push on this back 9 that is much more difficult than the front. Starting off with not the most difficult hole, the hole 10, 230 meters, so much longer than a lot of the par 4s we have seen so far. Drive is pretty open, you're just trying to throw towards this gap in the birch trees. Hopefully stay right off that left side OB corner. From this angle you can see the OB wrapping around the fairway. And from the perfect spot you are trying to throw a hyzer approach about 100 meters to this left to right sloping green with once again OB very close, both on the left and right and far side of the basket.
We have Paul up first, pushing this one out. It's considerably wider than the traditional line, as you see him also push that OB long. He sits it down on the hillside. Because he went so far right, we'll have a lot more distance towards the basket than perhaps the other traditional lines. Aimed left, exactly like this. A lot of players will throw an overstable driver flat at that tree right there, look to fade before it, and move towards the corner. That is a very nice placement shot from Bradley Williams.
Perfect position there. Not a lot of distance, as Bradley is more of a smooth player, but very good position. Onni here with a very similar line. Looks like he has a bit more speed though, as we saw a lot of great putts from him on the front 9, but showing that he has some good distance on the disc as well. It's a perfect position there, and Eagle just unloading here.
Yeah, I've heard multiple people say that he very well could be the furthest throwing player on the course right now in the game. And you see that huge drive on full hyzer. Just an absolute smash, getting well around that corner and about 50 meters closer than McBeth here. Both of them now with a look to get to the green, but McBeth having to put a lot more distance on this. And he'll fade out a touch early, really avoiding that OB to the right. You have a little bit of a backstop to that left side fence, although Paul will have a very tough putt remaining for birdie. This is Bradley now trying to get his way to the green.
Very good shape there. You can see he just barely flipped it up from hyzer to flat and pushing forwards into the green. Let's see if Onni can do something similar. Going with a wider shot here, which is it's a good play because you're often fading towards that left side fence, which protects you from going to that left side OB.
Eagle playing high and wide. His long tee shot affording him a spike hyzer into the green. Catches that familiar ground play of a very overstable disc coming down sharply on edge and sits by the hay bales. This is Paul for birdie and an aggressive bid from a very tough lie. He'll have a tap in par most likely. This is Eagle for his birdie. Has left himself shorter than it looked, but very makeable. And you see him capitalize there on that one.
Good putt there, and you can see Eagle was kind of staring it in as he was a little bit high in the chains. All good though, as he picks up the birdie. And Onni, that might actually be the shortest miss we have seen from him. Very difficult putt, but he has been putting great. And Bradley, odd miss there, that looked a little bit shaky. Not quite coming out of the hand clean.
Yeah, you'll notice that both Bradley and Onni putting directly towards OB downhill may contribute to some nerves or even an adjustment of the putting stroke. Bradley's looked to be quite floaty, and as a result had more height on it than you might usually see from him. As they secure their pars, we move to hole 11.
Hole 11, starting off the difficulty of the back nine. 131 meters, absolutely filled with OB. You can see both the left side OB and the right side OB tightening up before the pinch point of the fairway, which are these bushes, these big bushy trees on the right side. Players are trying to throw a hyzer around the first bushes, but before the highest, bushiest trees on the fairway. So it's a very specific gap. You have to play it pretty wide and hyzer your way either in front or over some of those bushes. As you can see, a huge hyzer from Eagle. This is a little bit inside though.
Yeah, unfortunately, he does find OB, although close enough to the green, he should have a putt for par save. He is going on that steep high hyzer and quite simply didn't give it enough width off the initial release. We see a similar line from Paul here, although it's lower, also fading towards the left side. And he too finds OB. Hole 11 coming in as the second most difficult of the day. And you can see just why. Incredibly narrow fairways and an incredibly small and tight green with OB on all sides. Bradley just sneaks OB as well. So close to keeping it safe. We'll see if Onni can make the correction.
Looks like he's tight as well, so everybody on the card going to the left side OB. Very surprising, since one of the most important things on this hole is that you have to play it wide enough. But wow, what a putt from Paul from 15 meters into the left to right wind. Let's take another look at that.
Incredible. The classic Paul McBeth style. Gives it the height and drops it in. With some of his putts, you can see it's going in so early on in the flight, and that is no exception there. Amazing par, scramble, save for Paul. This is Onni. Oh, so close.
We saw a couple of those on the front nine where Onni was having a great looking putt from outside the circle, but just barely missed. An Eagle there, similar faith. You can see he's frustrated because this is definitely one of the holes that suit Eagle the best out of the field, as he has a lot of distance. He can play that high, wide hyzer. But looks like we're gonna have 3 bogeys on the card.
Paul, the only one able to salvage the par, despite having the longest putt of the 4. And an interesting statistic, hole 11 had an equal percentage of bogeys and pars, both at 35%, so speaks to its difficulty as we move to 12.
Hole 12, another one of these 180-meter par 4s. It's a tricky one, especially off the tee. You have this ridge line you have to go over, and at the same time you have a low ceiling, so height control is very crucial on this hole. Most players are trying to throw a right finishing forehand just under the low ceiling but over the ridge line. Also, quick turn backhand roller is a great play to fight that hillside and the low ceiling. If you have a perfect drive down the fairway, your approach is much easier. You even have a bit of a backstop on this right side of the basket, so many players trying to throw slightly on the right side of the basket and just tap in their birdie.
We see Paul there receive the green flag, although he did not seem happy with the line. I'm hoping that we see a nice power roller from Eagle, similar to the previous par 4s here in this round. And this looks to be it. If he can lay down a cut angle that slowly turns against the hillside, he'll be in a good spot. That one getting a little bit caught up, but still a very nice position.
Yeah, that's a powerful roller. You can see even fighting through some branches. And Bradley here, good looking forehand. What a great line there, hitting the window perfectly under the low ceiling, skipping forward. And both Eagle and Bradley should have pretty simple, slight hyzer approaches to the green.
Very nice shot there, getting our spotter out of the way. We'll see Paul up first on his approach. Really important to navigate both the low ceiling and the high floor. A very precise height and nose angle required. And you see Paul almost making it to the green, but looks to have faded out a touch early. Potentially in the rough. We'll see what he's left with. This is Onni now.
Looks like a bit of a slip from him, but doesn't cost him a stroke since he's almost parked there. Looks like he just lost his balance after the throw and did not really affect the result there.
Bradley going forehand. Quite a common strategy, although getting it overturned also finds himself left of the green. Eagle here with a short pitch up hyzer, even giving it an almost run. He settles about 5 meters long of the pin. A nicely thrown shot with some good touch. This is what Paul is left with, actually looking for a forehand putt here. And just laying it up, choosing to reduce the damage, and the sign of a smart player is to not have any compounding errors, taking risks after already a slight misthrow. Oh! Bradley?
Wow, what a huge putt. Even after some of the putting errors he's had throughout the round, able to come back and nail that 15 meter outside the circle. Look at that step putt, putting it way above the basket and fading in. Well done from Bradley Williams there. Saving the birdie after an errant approach. And Onni here with almost just a tap in.
Yeah, textbook execution for Onni on this hole. Never any doubt there that he was on track for the birdie. Eagle as well, securing that with a short putt.
Yep, well done by the cord. This hole kind of starts the last 3-hole stretch that is very scoreable on this course. So holes 12, 13 and 14. Hole 13 has actually a pretty similar drive to the last hole. This time we're going straight. You have this tight gap at first and a low ceiling with all of these low branches, and once again a pretty high floor, so height control here super important. Most players are throwing a straight shot, whether it's a backhand or a forehand, with a fairway driver, even a distance driver sometimes, trying to get to this open field. If you manage to get your drive to the open field, you have a pretty simple hyzer approach, either from the hyzer with a backhand or hyzer with a forehand. Only difficulty with the approach is this sloped green. You see the basket is right on the edge of the slope, so if you go at all long, you're likely to be rolling down the hill. And looks like Eagle might even go roller here once again.
He's really been smashing these with a lot of speed and a very good angle control. We see him break out into that open field, and curling to the right, he will be left with a nice hyzer angle approach to the right side of that late guardian tree. Bradley going forehand, getting this one up to flat, and that's a really nice shot given the restricted height. He pured that right in the middle of the gap.
Yeah, perfect shot from Bradley. But that was an insane roller from Eagle. Looks like Onni has thrown a beautiful forehand as well, just fighting over the hillside. That's 3 drives in perfect position here. And Paul actually also going forehand. Very surprising since in the years past he has gone with the backhand. And the change does not pay off for him. He's well early and this is an absolute crush if he wants to get it within putting distance.
And he himself has even mentioned earlier in his European tour that his forehand did not feel like it was at its best, even taking dedicated fieldwork time to really hone in on his timing and technique. So back to relying on it, although it didn't work for him here on hole 13. Good to see his well-rounded game. That's a nice approach, catching the top branches, preventing the fade out, and likely keeping him closer than he would have otherwise been from Onni. This is Bradley now.
Perfect speed control there. You can see he's going with a pretty glideless disc. And Eagle here with just a standstill putter approach. Once again, destroying some of these par 4s with a long roller drive. I believe this is the 3rd time of this round he has thrown a huge roller and had a very easy approach.
Paul just off the band will find the slope deep of the basket. You see him back uphill now, cashing out the right side, just not finding his rhythm here. In round 2, this is Onni with a healthy putt for his birdie, as we expect to see from him, especially today. Really delivering nicely on the green. Bradley for his birdie. Nicely done as we see Eagle approach. And I think his rollers are pushing that 150 meter mark through the woods. So really impressive display of his skill set. Able to get that disc vertical, reduce the chance that he's hitting something in these tight gaps and biting off a ton of distance. Maybe the locals out to watch, learning some new lines from Eagle McMahon, although I'm sure they've been doing it for quite some time.
Yeah, and look at the contrast of Paul McBeth taking a bogey and everybody else on the court with the birdie. Birdie is what you are looking for on this hole 14. It's the last borderline easier hole of the course. 120 meters playing slightly downhill. You're trying to throw a straight to understable fairway driver through the gap in the middle or in between the trees. It's a pretty wide gap, so really just important to get your drive turning over to the right. Many players leaving it a little bit short here. You have a bit of a low ceiling, so it's difficult to get that height all the way up in the air and get that glide to the basket. As looks like Eagle has pulled it slightly to the right and with a bit of a low release as well. He has come up well short there.
Yeah, it is difficult to get this one really close. Shaping it through that late gap is the most important thing, as we see exactly that from Bradley Williams, one of the best gap hitters on tour right now. And very fortunate outcomes normally if you hit the gap with a high-speed disc, as long as it's turning a little bit too much turn or too much fade. And just like that, it's not a perfect shot through the gap, but a favorable result regardless. A nice shot from Onni. We're looking at Paul now to try and make the correction. Has had some struggles on the previous holes and looked like he may have slipped now here on the tee of 14.
Still a pretty fortunate result going through all of the branches of that huge pine tree. He still has a chance for the birdie. Let's see Eagle first though. Another good run. We have seen a couple of good cage hits from him, and Paul here, I'm sure he wants this birdie. Also hits the cage though.
Onni now putting laterally across the hill, does not have the slope to contend with, and really smooth. You can see he gets a great spin on his putts. Very straight line and a lot of glide. Bradley right in the heart as well from an amazing tee shot, leaving himself just that short tap in birdie. Bradley has put together 3 in a row alongside Onni. Bradley at 16 under, Onni at 15, Eagle currently at 14. All 3 of them now giving a slight lead over Paul, who is at 11 under.
Yeah, Paul really needs to pick it up if he wants a chance to get his, I believe, 6th European Open championship. Moving on to hole 15 here. Very significantly downhill, playing 145 meter par 3. Just an absolute difficult hole. You either have a chance to lay up short of the OB area between the tee and the basket, or you can go for this island-shaped green off the drive. Most players are going for the straight shot with a stable fairway driver or distance driver, and some players even going for the huge hyzer.
The shot from Bradley, a long nose-down piercing flight, but not able to fade in time, will find the OB as he looks to attack the island on the first shot. We'll see Onni now. Has this considerably higher, flipping it up to flat. He'll need to beat these late bushes as well. And unfortunately does not come out the backside, a very similar result to Bradley. We'll look to eagle now to make the correction. May potentially just go full hyzer, but opts for the straight line as well. A good correction to keep it more left. Just pushing up to that out of bounds line, but well safe and about circles edge for birdie on the tough hole 15.
Yeah, that is a great drive. It's one of the more difficult holes to birdie on this course. And Paul, he's very off right now. Looks like he's thrown it on way too much hyzer angle. Gonna have a long par putt. Not even a putt here, really just an approach. And he still has some work left to do for the bogey. Everybody else just trying to pitch up to the basket. And eagle will have the only real chance for the birdie on this hole.
Elias, would you like to guess what percentage of the field in round 2 found the elusive birdie on hole 15?
Let me guess, it's only 8%, eagle being one of them.
Eagle gets himself into that. It is in fact 20% higher than in round 1 and considerably higher than I thought it might be. We see a great putt from Eagle there for his birdie. Paul, unfortunately, on his bogey save, cashing out the side. Both Bradley and Onni left with their short shots for a hole that averages 3.36. 20% birdie rate, very nice on a difficult 145 meter par 3. We see here a mixed bag from our card. 1 birdie, 2 bogeys, and 1 double bogey.
And the difficulty continuing on hole 16. These last 4 holes are truly legendary. At the Beast Nokia Disc Golf Park course have caused trouble in the past for many players. This hole in theory is a pretty simple hole. You have a wide fairway to start. You're trying to throw a hyzer into the wide part of the fairway just over the path, and from there you have a manageable distance to this island green. What really makes this hole special is the bunker hazard rule, meaning that if at any point on the hole you go outside the lines, you're gonna rethrow from your previous lie with no penalty. So might cause some big trouble for some players, and Eagle there with a good looking drive, but not really getting a lot of distance since he hit that random thing in the fairway.
Yeah, I was wondering if it was an OB marker or what he connected with. Looks to be just a part of the local infrastructure, a small pole. We see Bradley going out a little bit wider and at a similar place to Eagle. May have an awkward run up on the slope adjacent to that walking path. We see Onni, and this is slightly turned over. He will need to find some fade quickly to remain in bounds. As the gallery skirts their way, out of the way it comes back.
Wow, what a break!
Wow.
You can see the spotter already
Great
was
job
holding
as well
the
on
red
the
flag.
spectators. Wow, what a break for Onni there. We see Paul with a slightly misreleased shot, although a fine result. All of these players are looking to get over that walking path into the grass. So this position that they're all in now, leaving themselves a lot of distance to a protected island green. We have Onni up first, going just a little bit long, about 5 or so meters.
And he will have to throw again from the same position. Looks like we missed his shot. He might have just quickly laid up to the far part of the fairway. And Bradley here, very wide with forehand. He just barely makes it into the island. I'm sure that's a huge relief for him. This is one of the nerviest shots on the course.
Paul playing forehand as well. A power hyzer. We'll see if it has the distance, and unfortunately it does not. You often see a good forehand making it to the green, flipping it up to flat. Paul actually swaps his approach and goes backhand. And you can see why there. Digs it into that island green. He'll be putting for par. This is Eagle now to make his way to the island on infamous hole 16. Wow. Incredible precision.
Yeah, great approach from Eagle there. You can see he's really fighting that hillside with a steep hyzer angle. And as we expected, Onni did just lay up to the far part of the fairway. So that was his 4th shot. He will tap in for the bogey 5, limiting the damage. And Bradley, what a great putt outside the circle, into the wind with the huge crowd. What a birdie.
Paul there getting his putt in for par. Bradley just on a roller coaster. No pars in the last 6 holes. He is attacking everything. Sometimes he finds the reward, sometimes he finds the risk. But either way, putting together a great round. We see the bogey save from Onni there. And despite his young age, I'd say very responsible decision making after the first missed island, realizing the significant distance, opts to just pitch up down the fairway to safety, and a great birdie there from Eagle McMahon as well.
Yeah, pretty well played by the card, I think. Just having that one bogey, overall playing -1 on the hole. And hole 17. Very, very difficult par 3. 140 meters going downhill. Most players are either trying to throw a straight backhand towards the right side of the basket and hopefully just take a really soft fade left. Or if you have a huge forehand, you might go over the top of the left side here. Looks like Eagle will just go for a straight mid-range. Crazy distance of 140 meters to be going with a mid-range here.
Playing softly downhill, but as you touched on, that is some great speed he can generate. Unfortunately, not quite getting it far and left enough, but very common for the backhand to play to the right side of the fairway. We see Bradley with a very similar line, able to fade back towards the inbounds. No problems there. Paul as well, maybe due to some favorable wind. It's rare to see players with the great forehand option to go for the backhand, but you see why there. Paul McBeth able to get a look at the birdie after some struggles here, has fallen behind this chase card a little bit here in round 2. If I had to guess and put myself into the mind of Paul McBeth, I'd say a little bit deflating as someone with multiple European Open championships under his belt may feel that he's slipping away from contention as the holes run out. We saw a nice shot there as well from Onni. We got Bradley up first here.
This is one of the touchier approaches you can see on the course. And you can see what a great touch from Bradley. Very difficult going straight towards OB. And even Eagle putting some extra focus on that layup. Just trying to land it flat. Let's see if Onni actually runs this. And he does. Huge courage from him to run it towards OB. He stays safe though. And Paul, great birdie. Actually his first birdie off the back 9. You can see the scorecard being empty of green. Fixes the problem here though.
Oh, and Onni coming back after a good bid downhill. Unfortunately, chains out on both the birdie and the par putt. We see from Bradley there a nice birdie. Or a par, rather, as he played to the right side fairway, yeah, and made his way down there. We see Eagle with his par. Onni with the bogey. We saw him look for that birdie, unfortunately finding trouble. Also for him, 7 holes in a row so far with no pars. Ride or die, we attack on the final hole. Elias, tell us about the iconic hole 18.
Iconic for sure. You can see the OB lines on the left side and on the right side. It's kind of a dogleg shape with the OB, but mostly an open hole, so you can choose your shapes here. A lot of players going over the inbounds area with the drive, trying to find that corner where the fairway turns towards the basket. So it's a 120 meter shot off the tee, and from there you're left with about 90 to this elevated basket. You can see the stage on the right side, tight OB on the left, and going to be a huge crowd following this card, playing the iconic final hole. A lot of battles have gone down on this one, and a lot of battles will go down on this hole in the future. Paul going for the traditional flex shot, trying to get a lot of distance. This needs to get over the OB. And he does not. That is a huge mistake. He will have to take it way back, probably ruining all of his chances to get a par.
Yeah, you'd have to think so, given just how little distance he will take off the tee shot. Eagle with a very similar line, but makes the correction. Both of them at a similar height. I think Eagle's disc considerably more overstable, as shown by its leftwards finish, despite the strong Anheuser release. We see Bradley here playing the forehand, as this could also find trouble. He goes OB right. A lot of forehand shots off the tee. You'll see them hang it left side over the OB road, which he did not do. As a result, is punished. And Onni here.
He is going with just a mid-range shot down the left side. So you can see that maturity even from a 17-year-old player, knowing that he does not need to bite off all of the distance to get a birdie chance. And Paul here, very important to get over that OB, which he does, but fading towards the stage, and he has gone OB again, so putting for a bogey.
Bradley here from where he crossed out of bounds, and he too finds his second OB of hole 18. Some unfortunate bogeys to come up for this chase card late in the round. We see Onni now looking to make the correction, crashing it in a little bit early on the fade. Although looks to have stuck it safe.
Yeah, I think Onni's... I think Onni has to be OB there. He went almost into the crowd there, as we saw Eagle with just a pretty simple approach. And yes, Onni looks to have made it OB, just laying up for the bogey. A pretty disappointing finish for him, taking 4 bogeys in a row, but overall a good performance from the young Finnish player.
Yeah, absolutely a great showing for Onni Ruusunen. As you touched on, it is a breakout performance for him on a huge stage and a prestigious event. Really cool to get himself on some coverage on Chase Card with some legends of the game. Paul to close out his round now. Puts that one home for the double bogey on 18, ending his round at even. I'm sure nowhere near the level that he's hoping to play at, but the man has done a lot for the sport and will continue to move forwards head held high. Eagle with a fantastic round of 9 under, sitting at 17 under total. You see a lot of green in that back 9 for Eagle. Traditionally, the harder of the 9s to score on. Really nice. Bradley taking a double there as well, and Onni with the single bogey. An incredible round 2.
We saw a lot of scoring separation there, with Paul going even par and Eagle bettering him with 9 strokes. Just look at the scorecards here. Eagle has put him into position even to go for that win. He's in tied second place. But wow, look at Anthony Barella and Albert Tom, both going double digits under par. Also Rasmus Saukaripi, Corey Ellis shooting incredibly hot 11 under rounds. There was a lot of good scoring on the second round, and thank you, Connor. It was a pleasure doing commentary with you once again.
As always, the stage is set for round 3, so make sure to join us there for the exciting conclusion. And thank you for joining us here for round 2 coverage. Leave us some support, a like, a comment, a subscribe, or if you're feeling extra supportive, check out the Patreon. We appreciate all of you and wish you a great day. See you in round 3.